Life is great when you're a world champion on top of the world and just the best in your sport. However, for some people, that's not always the case, especially when it comes to Christy Martin and her life outside the ring. While in the ring, she was one of the best female boxers to ever touch the canvas. However, outside of the ring, her biggest nightmare came true, all because of boxing. You're going to make a lot of relationships in boxing, and some of those are going to be good relationships, some of them are going to be bad relationships. But for the boxer Christy Martin, that relationship was almost fatal. For you guys who don't know who Christy Martin is one of the best women boxers of all time, and she really helped propel the sport of women boxing to where it is today. She was the first ever woman to appear on a Sports Illustrated cover. She had 56 fights. She won 49 of those fights, only lost 7, had 32 knockouts, and she was a women's champion at multiple points in her career. She had a professional career that lasted from 1989 to 2012, and she started boxing at the age of 21 and was elected to the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame in 2016. And at the time when Christy Martin started boxing, it was really hard for women boxers to find a boxing gym or a coach. One, because a lot of them just didn't believe in women's boxing, and they just didn't see it going anywhere or think that they could keep up, so they tried to stay away from it. But that's where Christy Martin was introduced to Jim Martin, who ended up being her husband and coach. At the time when Christy met Jim, it was strictly just coach-client relationship. They met when she was 22, he was 47. There was a 25-year difference between the two. And over time, throughout her training and fighting and just being around him, they actually started to spark a little bit of love for each other. So they ended up starting to talk, started dating, and they eventually got married. Throughout their marriage, there was a bunch of up and downs, just like any other normal couple who dates or decides to get married. But Jim did know some things about Christy that Christy tried to hide from the world. During a time when being LGBTQ or gay was not very accepted, Christy didn't want to come out with that information, but Jim did know that information. There wasn't a lot of lust left in their relationship. They weren't as deeply in love as they thought they were. And honestly, Jim did not take that very well. Jim would constantly tell Christy, if you leave me or if you try to break up with me, I will tell people your little secret and you will not box anymore. You won't be allowed in the gym. You won't box. Nobody's going to accept you just because nobody wants a gay fighter in their gym. And Christy believed a lot of this information that Jim was telling her just because of the fact that she had been excluded from gyms, kicked out of gyms, or not allowed to train with certain trainers just because she was a woman. So now with the new information of, oh, I'm a woman and I'm gay, Christy in the back of her mind was telling herself, maybe Jim is right, maybe I won't find a gym. And with her deep love for the sport of boxing, even though she knew she was being blackballed and she knew that he was holding this against her, she stayed because she believed what he was saying, that she wouldn't find another gym and that she was going to have to just figure it out. And throughout their whole relationship, Jim would continue to use this against Christy. He would tell her this, he would manipulate her, he would control her. And during this whole time, she's still fighting, she's still winning fights, she's still fighting for world championships. And then one day, Christy decides to reconnect with someone from, I believe, her high school, Sherry Lusk. Her and Sherry end up going out for dinner, spending the evening together, and then Christy ends up spending the night at Sherry's. And I'm not exactly too sure how this happened, but Jim did find out this information, and that's where the story becomes one of the craziest stories outside the ring in boxing. When Christy got back home from spending time with Sherry, she noticed that Jim had a buck knife, which he stabbed her 3 times in the chest with, slashed her leg. Then, after beating her and stabbing her and abusing her, he then pulled out her own 9mm gun and shot her in the chest. Then, while he's taking a shower and has left his wife, Christy Martin, to basically die in their home, Christy Martin crawls out of the house, escapes the house, and flags down a stranger. The stranger calls the ambulance picks her up. She goes to the hospital, and she is okay, she's alive. On November 30th, 7 days later, after stabbing and shooting Christy Martin, he was rushed to Orlando Regional Medical Center for stabbing himself. And after being taken care of by the doctors and everything, they did put Jim on trial, and Jim is now serving a 35-year sentence at the Graceville Correctional Facility. And then on November 25th of 2017, Christy Martin went on to marry one of her ring rivals, Lisa Hoween. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. But she went on to marry her, and now she is actually the CEO of Christy Martin Promotions, which is actually a very successful boxing promotion in the Southeast in places like South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, and a bunch of other states as well. And if you guys are interested in just knowing more about this story, you can actually go on Netflix, and in 2021 they released a documentary from the Untold series called Deal with the Devil that's actually based around Martin's life and the whole situation that happened with her husband. However, that's going to wrap up the video here, guys. If you did enjoy this story, if you did enjoy the video, go ahead, drop a like, drop a comment, and make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Tell somebody you love them. Don't let nobody ruin your day, and peace out.